Hey guys, it's Jen, and I'm here to do an album share video with you. I'm on vacation, so I thought while I was gone, it'd be fun to share some of my older albums with you. This one is not super old. My last two were a little bit older. This one is from 2013, and it's in a We Are Memory Keepers Grayish faux leather album. So let's go ahead and dive in. So I do my albums chronologically. I don't scrapbook chronologically, but I file chronologically. So this is at the beginning of January, and this is a mixed media heavy layout. I used a stencil, and I colored on the background, and it's just a really fun layout. And I love this little cluster, and I like that it starts at the left because my daughter's at the very left. It really draws your eye there, but also she's walking into the layout kind of, so that was a fun one. So this is a layout about my daughter's birthday, and she loves maps, or she used to anyway. So we redid her room with a whole map theme, and I took photos of it and put it on this layout, and then I stitched a globe around it and kind of put it in a circular shape. So that was a fun one to create. A tradition for my daughter when she has a birthday is we go to the aquarium. So I always have a photo of her looking into one of the tanks. Usually I have a photo of her with Nemo, but this year I just had one of her looking into the tank. So I just talked about that a little bit. And this is when I started my Scraptastic kits. So this has, I think I made this in 2014, but it is 2013. And I love this washi tape from Studio Calico. Or it's not from Studio Calico. I think it's from Pink Fresh Studios, but I got it in a Studio Calico kit. And I loved it. This one is a layout about my daughter not liking her photo taken, and this was before I got into brush script, but I just hand wrote the title on there. It's a Shakespeare quote, and I was really into scrapbooking from my stash and using scraps, and so I have a bunch of scraps layering the photo and then just a bunch of things kind of around it. So I really like that one. This is a layout about how pushy I am. So this is one where I did the journaling in 2014, but the photos are from 2004. So this is when my husband and I first got married. Look how young we are. Anyway, and so I was just talking about how I've pushed him into every big decision, but it's been good. But I was being honest, like I'm a little pushy sometimes, so that was fun. And I used some of the Chamel stamps that she had at 2Ps. Yeah, thanks for that. So those will show up again throughout the album probably. And I had little tufts of thread. So I used to do this a lot, and I haven't done it lately, but Missy Wooden does it now, and it makes me want to do it more. So those are fun. And I was into outlining stuff at this time too, which I think helps it stand out. I like it. This is a layout about my nephew. This is a photo shoot I did of him, and we made him look like a little scholar or whatever, and I talked about how he looks just like my grandpa in this photo, so that was fun. And you can see we have a chalkboard wall in our kitchen. You can see that behind it says 1 + 1 = 3. It's kind of a fun photo shoot. And this is a layout about how much I love spring. Again, this was using bits and pieces in my scraps, layering them up. I really was into this whole layering thing, and I like it. And I used some of these clear letters here and stitched them down. Some of my favorite layouts are in this album, I think. So this is called Reading Gives You Wings, Go Fly. So I used my silhouette here, and I used an old rub-on that was from Jenny Boland's studio, I think. And then this is some vellum stamped with white circles. That is another layer of that. And I like that she's kind of floating in the sky, that I have the cloud background. And then I use some typed journaling here. This layout was one where I was experimenting with a technique that I saw on Pinterest. It wasn't a scrapbook layout. It was inspiration that I gained from an art photo. But I layered up a bunch of book pages, and then I cut them down so that they could layer together, and I inked them, or I watercolored on them, and then folded them down and put the photo behind. And it's kind of a really cool technique. And then I did a little bit of gesso on the background and some gold Heidi Swap gold color shine, which I had just gotten. So that's a fun layout. I like that one. This is a layout of the bridal photos I did for my sister, and there's a little bit of journaling right here. It's just a really simple layered up. This was using a Scraptastic kit and a large photo. And then this is the photo shoot that I did for her engagement. So I'm not a photographer, but I do like taking photos sometimes, so I'll do it for my friends and family occasionally. So I really liked the way that photo turned out. So I was just talking about how I can't believe that she was engaged. She's 9 years younger than me, so my baby sister. And now she has 2 kids, which is crazy. So that's one photo of them on their wedding day. I didn't snap a lot of photos on their wedding day. They had a photographer, and so they have photos, but I don't. So that's one that I got. That's just from my iPhone. So that was kind of fun. This was in a Scraptastic. I was the member spotlight 1 month, so this was a layout that was included in that. This is one of my favorite layouts that I actually need to move to another album. This is a Disney layout, so I need to move it to my Vacation in Disneyland album, but I haven't yet because I created the album after I created this layout. But I used the silhouette to cut out my title, and then I laid back on the Disneyland 2013 over the top of it. I really like this layout. And then I just used a small Instax photo. This is kind of like an album intro photo, so I will put this at the beginning of the album. But and then I just layered up a bunch of stuff. And this little cream piece here is hard to see, but let me pull it out so I can show you because it's kind of cool. So I bought some earrings at Disneyland, and this was the little backer that it came on. So there are little mouse ears on this little piece right here. So that's just a fun touch, a good way to incorporate some memorabilia that's subtle, but I know it's there. So really fun. Oh, I've got some ribbon there that doesn't want me to get this layout back in. There we go. And I like this little cluster at the top too, just kind of pointing down into the layout. So these are some more vacation layouts that I need to move. So this is Oceanside. We always stay at our condo in Oceanside when we go. So when we went to Disneyland this time, we also went to Oceanside and San Diego. And I have a mini album about that you can see in my photo triage class if you're a part of it. So these are layouts in addition to a mini album. So I don't have a ton of layouts from the trip because I created that album. But this is one photo, and I talked about how it's one of my favorite places in the world. And this photo of my daughter I just loved. I printed it huge, and I layered some frames on the side and then wrote a little bit of journaling at the bottom. So that's a fun one. This is a layout my daughter actually made. So I know I've had people ask me questions about my daughter's scrapbooking. She has her own scrapbook, but she let me put this one in mine, and I'll end up putting it in our vacation album. But this is her layout about Rapunzel, meeting Rapunzel. So that's fun. She does such a good job. This is a layout about my husband and I's 10-year anniversary. So I cut 10 years out of vellum and put it on the layout and stitched it down. And so it's really subtle. And to get these little splatters that are glittery, what I did was I thinned out some Mod Podge and flicked it and then put the glitter on. And that's how I got that result. And these are just some photo strips that I printed on my computer or on my home printer. And then this was a free printable I found online. I believe every human has a finite number of heartbeats. I don't intend to waste any of mine. So I just talk about how much I'm still happy and how my husband still makes me laugh after 10 years. This layout needs some more stuff to it, and I think I might put it in my vacation album, but I took a business trip to Toronto, and so this is just a little layout about that. I wrote all around the outsides. I have more photos from this trip, but I haven't scrapbooked them yet, but I thought it was a fun layout. This is a layout about my daughter and my brother-in-law. So my brother-in-law died before my husband and I were married, but he died when he was about 22, and we live really close to the cemetery where he's buried. So on Sunday afternoons, we'd always take a walk and just walk by his grave, and Malia sat down next to it and looked up and said, "I wonder what Uncle Andrew's doing right now." So this layout is about that and what we talked about. And I said, "What do you think he's doing?" And she said, "I think he's doing chores for Heavenly Father." And I thought that was really cute, so I had to get that down. And I put this little vellum envelope is from, I can't remember who that's from, but I filled it with sequins, and you can see them in real life, but it's kind of hard to see them there. So I just kind of clustered everything here, and then so it's like an L-shaped layout. This is a photo of my daughter that I just loved, and I talked about how she's a light in my life, and I layered up a bunch of scraps behind it and a little bit up here as well, and used some Heidi Shine on that as well. Sorry, I'm going kind of quickly. This is a layout about this two-headed snake my daughter made out of fabric. She made it herself, and ever since we saw a two-headed snake at the San Diego Zoo, she was obsessed, and so she made this and carried it around with her everywhere till it fell apart. It was funny. So, there's that. This is a layout about my niece and my daughter, and I cut up a Dear Lizzie paper that had these chevrons on it and paired it with this kind of concentric circle paper and stitched them all down, and then I layered enamel dots on the similar colors. That was a fun one to make. I just talked about how they're obsessed with each other. This is just a layout about me and my husband on a date and how I just really loved him. I cut out tons of words from a Maggie Holmes paper and stitched them down. So that was a fun one. So I used to do photo a day on Instagram, the Fat Mom Slim. You can look it up if you look up at Fat Mom Slim on Instagram. And I was using the Rana Designs app, like overusing it. But I decided to put all of those photos onto one 12 by 12 photo. So they're all just squares on a 12 by 12 photo. So there was a little bit room left over, and I just put my title there. And so here's a list of what the photos are, and then you can read each one. So that's kind of a fun, if you do photo a day, that's a fun way to document it. This is another youth camp. So I work with the youth in my church a lot, and so we go to the girls' camp with them. And this is me and another leader, and we thought we were hilarious, so I was just documenting that. And these were some of the horses that we got to ride and at the camp that we went to, and I just talked about how there was something about that place that was just amazing and that I loved. This is using a Scraptastic kit. I love this layout. It's really fun. This is one of my first layouts with the first Felicity Jane kit, or maybe the second one. I think it was the first one. Yeah, the first one, of my daughter doing ballet. So I just punched a bunch of circles out of an ombre paper and then layered them like that. And then there were these flat gold sequins, and I layered them into. So it's a really simple layout. And then this is the black ribbon that ties the kits closed, and I just put a little bit of gold tape around it. So that was a really fun one. This is a layout that talks about how my daughter and her cousins are friends too, and I love this diagonal design. I've used it several times, and I just journaled around the outside. This is using a Scraptastic kit when I was a member. So is this one. This is the back to school tradition of going school shopping, so they're sitting on the Target bench because we go to Target. We also go other places, and again with this little diagonal, and this is using a Scraptastic kit also. This is a layout about how, well, I'll just read you the journaling really quick. Since we moved into our house, we have this really large table that can seat 8 people, but we always find ourselves sitting at the counter. It's just perfect. There's enough room for 3. I always thought my little family would grow to fill the table, but that's not in the cards for us. Someday that may change, but for now, I'm finding that there is simply more room to be grateful for the family I have because they're amazing. So I called it room for 3 and talked about how we always eat at the counter because that's something that's important in our lives, and I did a lot of things in 3s on this layout. It's subtle, but it's there. So it's a really kind of a busy layout, but I like it because the story is important to me. This is a layout I actually made. This was a challenge to myself. I made it completely from, well, I had one sheet of pattern paper and a pen in my purse. I don't know why I had that pattern paper, but we went over to babysit some kids, and my husband had them make collages, and so I did a scrapbook page instead. So these are all from magazine clippings. So I cut out a bunch of words and I laid laid them on the background, and then I cut out this photo of someone playing the piano, and I made my own like little embellishments with things I found in the magazine. And then I wrote about how if only I had practiced the piano, I would be so much better right now. So we'll see how long that one lasts, but that was kind of a fun challenge, so try it if you haven't. This is a photo of me and my sister, and just talking about how I'm so grateful she's my sister. And we're pretty close, even though we're so far apart in age. So that was a fun one. This one is, I love this layout too. I included 6 photos. This is from this little Thanksgiving Point farm country. It's like a little place where you can go and feed the ducks and ride ponies and stuff like that. It's fun for the kids. So we took my daughter, and then my nieces and nephews and my in-laws all went too. And so that's just documenting this day. That was way fun. And this layout, which I need to change because I didn't put a T in the word actually, but my sister-in-law did not see this "watch out, I bite" sign, and she went up and petted a horse and it totally bit her. And I just documented how the bruise changed over time because it was so bad. So I used a lot of the Chamel stamps here because they're kind of a little bit snarky, not the highlights, excuse me, fail, so stuff like that. And I used this thumbs up for thumbs down. So that was a fun one to make. I gotta change it though. This is a diagonal design, and I used a little bit of gesso and the packaging technique on the background of this one. And so this must be when I started using this. I know I made this after 2013. It might have been last year, 2014. But this is, my daughter loves catching snakes. It's crazy. But so she named it Lucy, and I just documented that real quick. This is a favorite layout of mine. This is my daughter and my niece playing in the leaves. And I was taking photos, family photos for my sister-in-law. And I also caught this photo of, my daughter came along. And so I caught this photo of them playing in between shoots. And these are rub-ons from Close to My Heart that have this text print on the background that I just used over and over. And rubbed them all behind to make a photo mat. And then I used some sassafras stickers. Those are sassafras. And just layered up some papers. And it's really autumnal but fresh because the aqua. So I really love that. This is a layout about my daughter reading her scriptures. And it just made my heart happy because I like that. So. And then this is my daughter entered the reflections contest at her school. So the theme was Believe, Dream, Inspire. And so she took a photo of she took this photo of the tree, and that was her entry. And if I pull this out, I'm just going to pull both layouts out. In this little thing, I wrote the details of what she did to enter. So I just stamped the date here. And her entry was, she called it Reaching to the Sky, and she related it to the topic Believe, Dream, Inspire by saying that trees start from a tiny seed and grow into a big tall tree. Just like the tree, we can grow and reach for our dreams. So she got a little, like an honorable mention, or she went on to state or something. I can't remember. I gotta look that up, but it was really sweet. So that was fun. Now, in all of my albums, I use either the We Are Memory Keepers page protectors because they come with the albums, but they're nice and thick, or Close to My Heart page protectors because they're nice and thick and really awesome. I'm kind of a page protector snob because those are the only ones I'll use. Okay, and then this is a layout about, my niece had to get leg surgery, and so she had to be in a wheelchair for a while, and I just wanted to talk about how cute that Mally wanted to push her in the wheelchair, and it was just really sweet. So that is documenting that, and I layered a whole bunch of die cuts on the side and then journaled and put the photo on the other side. So I think that's the last one. Yep, so that is the last one. So that goes from January to December, and I probably still have more stories to put in here, but we'll see. And so that is my album for 2013. Thanks so much for joining me. Let me know if you have any questions or leave comments below. I love to see them. Bye-bye.